Welcome to All in Adams, the official podcast of Adams County government, where we're all in for our residents, our employees, and our community. So whether you live here, work here, or you just want to know more about what makes Adams County a great place to be, thanks for tuning in. We're all in Adams.
Welcome back to the All in Adams podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Wellender, Press Secretary for Adams County. Today, I am joined by the Chair of our Board of County Commissioners, Lynn Baca, and the Vice Chair, Commissioner Julie Duran-Mullica. We're here to recap our most recent community town hall, one where our residents came together to share ideas, ask questions, and talk through some of the key issues that are facing our communities and our neighborhoods, like code compliance, public works and streets, communications, and public safety. We'll touch on what's coming next as well, and how residents can keep engaging with us. Commissioners, thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how do you think that our most recent town hall went overall, Commissioner Baca?
It was great. So we had our first in-person town hall as a board. It was at the Anythink Library on Huron. So we tried to have the locations that where we meet residents where they're at. So we try to make these very neighborly rather than have everyone come to the government center or some other location. So it was great. We had about 40 to 50 residents in attendance. We also had some that joined us online, and many staff members that were there providing resources. So it was great. We did change the format, so there was a lot of Q&A at this first in-person town hall for the board.
Awesome. You mentioned we had residents joining us online. This was the first time that we have live streamed one of our town halls on YouTube, and it is available for anyone to view on our YouTube channel, which is Adams County CO Government. Commissioner Mullica, how did our very first live stream go?
I think it actually went pretty well. So live streaming the work that we do has been a new theme of this year. And so I was excited that we were able to incorporate that into the town hall as well. We had about 43 unique viewers. So it doesn't sound like a crazy amount, but it's a lot to us. Those are 43 individuals that were able to join the town hall without physically having to drive there, having to find childcare, having to reschedule their lives around us. So I think that that's what's most important. Also, it really allows us to just live by those values of transparency and accountability, so that everybody can be involved in our government and not just those that it magically works out for everything. All the pieces fall in place for that one evening. It's a lot. Life's hard. So it was great that we were able to manage a live stream. So thanks to the team for making that happen.
Thank you for supporting that and for wanting to make sure that we're reaching more people who, like you said, may not be able to come in person for so many different reasons. And like you said, Commissioner Baca, there were 40 to 50 people in the room, and we reached another 40 unique individual people online. So we more than doubled our town hall attendance by doing it live. And that doesn't also count all of the people that have viewed it online since. Yes, and anybody can view it now too. So it's got some staying power, and all those questions can continue to be answered, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Commissioner Baca, earlier this year, we also hosted a telephone town hall. How do you think that event helped set the stage for this year's slate of community conversations that we are having?
Yeah, so we had a telephone town hall, as you said, earlier this year. What we heard from residents immediately following that is that they wanted in-person engagement. So we were not able to pivot for that first one. We had already planned it. It was already well on its way, but we did pivot for this second one. And I think what we're hearing from residents is that they want to be heard about issues that are important to them in their neighborhood, in their, mostly in their neighborhood, what's important to them and their families. The county, I will just say, is 1,200 square miles. So the varying degrees of service delivery, resources, it looks different. So if you look at Eastern Adams County, we just found out recently in conversations that they have a lot of bridges. So we have about 110 bridges in Eastern Adams County. Transportation looks very different. They have a lot of dirt roads and collector streets in Eastern Adams. We have a lot of interstates that run through the western portion of the county. We have a lot of different higher dense cities that are in the western portion of the county. So it's really important that we hear each unique individual participate in our telephone town halls or an in-person town hall so staff can address them specifically. Of course, generally what the program is, but specifically for that particular resident that came forward.
And I think one of the things that was so cool about that first telephone town hall is it really showed us that doing this in multiple formats does let us reach people in so many different ways.
Definitely.
And this was our first in-person town hall for our brand new county manager, Dion Stroder. And she was joined by other members of our executive leadership team, as well as some of our elected officials from our other departments, like Sheriff Gene Claps, Deputy Assessor Thomas Swingle. Why, for y'all, do you think it's so important to have other county leaders alongside the board addressing some of these concerns that our residents are bringing forward? And Commissioner Mullica, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that the way that we really wanted to approach this town hall was make it primarily a question and answers segment. That's definitely some feedback that the county has gotten in the past is more time for Q&A. And so the entire presentation was Q&A. With that, it's great to have a team approach. We don't know what kind of questions are going to come forward. We obviously have a really good idea of what are some of the hot topics going on in the county. And so having other team members from other departments helps us just make sure that we have the right people there to answer the question. Of course, the sheriff is always going to be a hot topic. People love to talk about public safety and the work that he has going on. So it was great to have him there as well. But yeah, I mean, people don't necessarily maybe understand or see that there's differences in the offices that we represent, right? We're all each individual elected offices, but to the people of Adams County, we're one entity. And so it's great when we have those opportunities to pull together like that.
Absolutely. And this was also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say this was also one of the first times that we had a really expanded presence of resource tables from some of our different departments, like Human Services and Community Economic Development, the Health Department, Community and Safety and Wellbeing. And I know that I am probably not listing a couple, but I think we had 6 different resource tables there and ready to make sure they were having one-on-one conversations with the residents who were there. Why do y'all feel it was important for us to make sure we were having the opportunity for people to have those conversations with staff who are directly working on some of these issues?
So I'll go ahead and start, and then we can go over to Julie as well. I think it's important to have those resource tables. We do programming for our residents, and it's important that they stay engaged. Like, what is available for them through the health department? Our planning department was there. We have a lot of planning. Again, we're 1,200 square miles. We have different studies happening, and we really want the citizens' input. So if we're doing a countywide safety study, or we're going to change some other regulations, we really want not only residents, but sometimes businesses as well. And we have a business town hall coming up in October. So the work that we do, we want to make sure that it connects to our community and that we have it available where they're at. And where they're at that one time was at the at the town hall in person at the Huron Anythink.
Commissioner Mullica, what were your thoughts on making sure that we had all those resources available?
Yeah, you know what? It actually came in handy. I was talking to a resident and before the actual meeting started, and they had an interesting question, and I actually didn't even know where to direct them, which department it would fall in. Sometimes there's questions like that. And so I just went up to any table. I'm like, all right, somebody help me. We have a great question here. Where do we go? And so I think it's great to have multiple departments represented because sometimes you don't know who to ask. And everyone was great and we were able to find the right resources. But having, again, the diversity of voices helps just make sure that we're able to, answer those questions as they come up.
I think it was really cool to see all those conversations, like you said, before the town hall even started and afterward. And it seemed like there was so much additional engagement that happened with all of the teams that were there.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of follow-up, which was great.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And one theme that we heard a lot about, and we mentioned the community safety and well-being team that had a table there, neighborhoods, code compliance. That was a theme that we had a lot of questions about. What were some of the things that our residents shared, and how are we responding to some of those questions?
We had quite a few residents that had very specific questions around, their neighborhood that they wanted follow up with. Again, it was great to have staff on site to respond to those right away. Another great thing was just being able to, open your phone and then look at the map and, like that one-on-one interaction versus sending an email to somebody and trying to schedule a call. I mean, it was just great to have those resources on site, because then you could just get a full scope of what the problem was. Now, we had lots of follow-up from the town hall, which was great. And I think each of those cases are going to be, followed up with each individual as they come forward. But, it's, again, great to have everyone together. We talked a lot about the SeeClickFix app. I think that came up, 5 or 6 times during our conversation. And so, how do we use it? How do you find it? Some people wanted to download it at the event or following after. So, I mean, again, just a great way to pull together as a team.
Absolutely. And Commissioner Baca, you already talked a little bit about the diversity of roads that we see across the county. And I think that was something that came up quite a bit too, is what our public works team sees, the different questions that people in our community have about ownership of roads, whether it's a state road or a local road. What were some of the questions and concerns that were raised about streets and roads here in Adams County?
So the county we've invested a lot in our infrastructure. So we're about $30 million in our infrastructure. I think that's just annually in Eastern Adams County. What was really interesting is that we had one resident specifically ask about a roadway. And just because you're in Adams County, we don't own all the roads and we don't maintain all the roads. So that particular roadway actually happened to be a state roadway. So I know as you drive, all of the cities, having come up through city council, we want to make it smooth, that it's not so obvious you're leaving Adams County, you're on a state road, you're on a city road, you're back to a state road. But it's important as a user to identify what part of the roadway, so we can maintain it, we can go out and take corrective action, or we can work with our partners, mostly CDOT, on whether it's fixing potholes or it's, doing some crack sealant. So we do have really great relationships with our cities, also at CDOT. And so we want to hear from all residents, no matter whose roadway it is, so then we can either handle it or we can share out.
Definitely. And I think that's a perfect segue into something I'm really curious about y'all's perspective on, which is how does hearing directly from residents at events like this help guide your work as commissioners? And you mentioned the partnerships, but I'm really curious about what happens after these kind of events and how does this move forward into y'all's daily work?
I'll start. Hearing from residents is why we have these jobs, right? It's taking in that feedback and using that feedback to redirect the way that we operate. One of the things that I heard loud and clear again at this town hall is our need to have better translation services. We have a lot of Spanish speaking members in our community. And yes, we did have some resources and staff on site. We could always have a better process. And so I think it's just really understanding where people are coming from, what issues matter most to them. That helps us when we need to make those daily decisions in how this county moves forward. So important.
I think the whole Huron format for the town hall, that recommendation came directly from a resident, that they didn't want to see a canned presentation. That has been how we were approaching town halls. They wanted to have more Q&A, more discussion with the board. And so we started right away of just going to Q&A to the audience. We had also members that signed up that they were going to watch. They had an opportunity to submit written questions, and we were able to get to some of those questions. I did run into a resident that submitted a question at the local coffee shop in Brighton and said, we did ask her question, and she said, how did that resonate in the room? And I said, I think all of the residents that were there were interested in everyone else, the question and also the response. Like, oh, maybe I didn't think about roads, or I didn't think about asking about the health department. So the Q&A was great. And I really appreciate that. And that came directly from a resident. So that type of engagement with the board, with our staff, if you have a suggestion, we're here and we're open to hear about it.
So taking all of that momentum and all of the lessons learned and everything that sounds like went really well from this last town hall, and the things that we learned that we can improve on and continue to do better for our community. Let's look ahead and let's share a little bit about the upcoming Business Focus Town Hall and the opportunities that our business community has to join us to learn a little bit more about the services we provide for them. So, Commissioner Mullica, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Our next Business Focus Town Hall is going to be Monday, September 29th. So it's going to be co-hosted with our Community and Economic Development team and the Adams County Regional Economic Partnership, AC Rep. I needed to make sure that I said that appropriately. I always call them AC Rep. I don't actually know their full name. But they're a great team, and it's going to be exciting to focus on resource challenges and actually hearing from our business community. And so I'm really looking forward to it. I do have to put a plug out there, though. We will be wrapped up before the Broncos Monday Night Football kickoff. So please tune in, even if you're a Broncos fan. We promise we won't hold you too long.
Absolutely. We will be doing this one in person and live streaming again. So if you're really nervous about that kickoff, you can tune in on the live stream, and that way you can make sure. But we will be, and we're going to tailgate theme it as well. So we're going to have the kind of football snacks for that in-person experience. So you might not be going to an actual tailgate, but you'll be tailgating with us instead. So we've got kind of that dual experience.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're planning so far out, it was before the Broncos announced their schedule.
Yes, exactly.
We would not do this intentionally.
So the last thing I kind of want to close on here is, why are these town halls, including ones that are specific to our business community, including ones that have a little bit different of a way of doing it, like a telephone town hall, why are these so critical for our future as Adams County and for our community?
You know, there's a lot of growth coming to Adams County. And with growth, there's a lot of opportunity. There's also a lot of challenges for our residents, whether it's housing or food scarcity. And we want to hear about all of it. In the Business Town Hall, residents are welcome to attend. What are the challenges? I think it's important that the business community share their challenges, and residents also understand and hear that if they have time. And that we're willing to listen to business, and we're also willing to listen to our residents. I think that that's just really critical, that we continue to have these town halls and gatherings.
What are your thoughts, Commissioner Mullica?
For me, really, we need all different perspectives to understand the various impacts that are impacting our community. We have young families, we have older retired individuals, we have business owners, entrepreneurs. And so we have all different types of people who live and work here in Adams County, and having those diverse perspectives helps us better understand what's going on and the work that we could do to make Adams County better.
Thank you both for all of your insight, for all of your reflection on our last town hall, and for helping us get excited about the next one. And I am so excited to have had this conversation with you. Thank you for your commitment to bringing Adams County's residents together. We hope that we'll be able to see y'all at our next town hall on Monday, September 29th. For Commissioners Lynn Baca and Julie Duran Mullica, I'm Nikki Wellender, and this has been another episode of All in Adams. Thanks for joining.
That's a wrap for this episode of All in Adams. Thank you for joining us as we explore the people, programs, and the policies that make Adams County a great place to live, work, and thrive. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends, neighbors, and colleagues. Have a topic you'd like us to cover? Let us know. We're all in for bringing you the stories that matter most. Until next time, take care of each other and stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, and X. We're all in Adams, and we're all in for you.